Let's continue yesterday's discussion. We were talking about Clebsch-Gordon coefficient. Okay, Clebsch-Gordon coefficients. Now, what I had told you that these are the real numbers, and these are used while we talk about the addition of angular momentum. And this addition may be addition of two spin angular momenta, two orbital angular momenta, two total angular momenta, two isospin quantum numbers, etc. And they are used in atomic physics, molecular physics, nuclear physics, and particle physics more often. Now, yesterday we stopped at the discussion of the addition of two spin half particles. What I had told you that if you have been given two spin half particles, then at the level of spin angular momentum, just we write S1 is equal to half and S2 is equal to half. Then one may talk about the projection of a spin, and this projection of a spin can be plus half or minus half. Similarly, projection of a spin here can be plus half or minus half. Okay. Then I told you that if that means I have been given two states where I have to place these two particles, and if I have to place these two particles, then their spin projection can be, both of them can be plus half, both of them can be minus half, either of them can be plus half or minus half. That means what I had told you that since S will be S1 minus S2 to S1 plus S2, therefore the possible values are 0 and 1 for the total spin angular momenta of the system, and then Sz will be 0, and for this it will be plus 1, 0 and minus 1, such that you will form four states, one with 1 plus 1, another with 1 0, another with 1 minus 1, and the fourth with 0 0. Now this is my Jm, and I have to form this with the help of two particles where spin can be either half plus half, half minus half, or one has got plus half and another has got minus half, and so on. Now that means first case I took that I want a system of two spin half particles such that the net spin of the particle is 1 and the spin projection of the system is plus 1. Now this is only possible as the projections are algebraically added, that both of the projections are plus half, such that we have a plus 1 here. Therefore the constraint that m should be plus 1 forces us that the spin projection for both the particles should be plus half. Then we say that this plus half I can get from half and half, and since half and half can give me both 0 or 1, but we need a projection plus 1, which can only come from this fellow 1. Therefore, we will write here 1. And this we have formed it from half plus half, half plus half. And this then we write it as, see, this is my J1, M1, J2, M2, Jm. Clebsch-Gordon, J1, J2, M1, M2, Jm. Then gets J1, M1, J2. Okay? Or equivalently, what I had told you yesterday, that J1, M1, J2, M2 is equal to Clebsch-Gordon this with the kit Jm. And this C by choice is a real number. Now this half has got a maximum projection of plus half and minimum projection of minus half, while this half has also got a maximum projection of plus half and minus half. The condition is not that if one has taken a value of plus half, the other will also take the value of plus half. It can take the value of minus half, or it can take the value of minus half. First, yesterday I discussed the case of 1 plus 1, and what I had told you that we will see that Clebsch-Gordon for half, half, plus half, plus half, 1 plus 1, maximum projection, adding to the maximum value plus 1. This is something like J1, J2 plus J1 plus J2 giving rise to J plus J. Just algebraically adding them up, we are getting the maximum projection. Or similarly, if we have Cj1, J2 minus J1 minus J2, 1 or J minus J. This is another extreme projection. These two Clebsch-Gordon, we will see that they will turn out to be equal to 1. Okay? Therefore, this quantity is 1. Yes?
Sir, sir, few student want to join, sir. Sir, Gopal from second year, fourth sem.
Yes, yes. This is 1. Then we have half plus half represents a spin up state here. And then in the second state, we have also half plus half. This will be represented. Okay? This is one case when we have considered 1 plus 1. Then the other case that we have discussed was 1 minus 1. Now once we have 1 minus 1, then minus 1 is another extreme position. This minus 1 we can obtain only when these two are minus half, such that I am getting minus 1. Again, 0 cannot have a projection minus 1. Only 1 can have a projection minus 1. Therefore, this will be half minus half, half minus half. And then again you see these are the maximum projection in the opposite direction. The Clebsch-Gordon will be equal to 1. This will be, they represent two particles. I don't know what are those two particles. Those are spin 2 half particles. They can be 2 electrons, an electron positron, two protons, one proton, one neutron, any of the, because spin does not see the particle. Spin is an intrinsic property of the system. Therefore, this will be particle in state 1 with a spin down, particle in state 2 will spin down. Now we have discussed two cases. Now the other two possibilities, 1, 0. 1, 0 means my J is 1, my M is 0. And this we have to form from two spin half particles. Okay. Now I want my M to be 0. And I want my J to be 1. M to the be 0. J to be 1 and M to be 0. Now, how we can get total M equal to 0? This is possible if one is plus half and another is minus half. Because half can have a projection plus half and the second half can have a projection minus half, such that this is giving me 0. But you will ask the question, the other possibility could be this is minus half and this is plus half. Therefore, one is this and the other possibility is half, half, 1, minus half, plus half, 0. Then this is half minus half, half plus half. Now this is represents a spin up state. This represents a spin down state. This represents a spin down state. And the second represents a spin up state. Now, the Cleff's Gordon that we will write is half J1, J2, M1 is plus half, M2 is minus half, and J is 1, M is 0. Here, half, half, minus half, plus half, 1, 0. What is the difference? Here first we have M1 as plus half and M2 as minus half. And in the second case, M1 is minus half, M2 is plus half. Now in the class we will see that this Cleff's Gordon will turn out to be 1 by root 2. This we will evaluate in the class, that the Cleff's Gordon for this type of form where J1 is half, J2 is half, M1 is plus half, M2 is minus half, with capital J is 1, capital M is 0. This will turn out to be 1 by root 2, such that I can write these two together as 1 by root 2 spin in state 1 is in up state, spin in state 2 is in the down state, while spin in state 1 is in spin down state, and spin in state 2 is in a spin up state. Now, if I interchange the two particles in state 1 and 2, then that means I will write this here, and then for the second case I will interchange it, and but overall what you will realize that there is no change of sign. That is why this state we will call it as a symmetric state. Similarly, this is a symmetric state, or the first one which I wrote was a symmetric state, because if you interchange the two particles which are in a state 1 and a state 2, you won't be able to tell which one was a state 1 and which was a state 2. Now let us take the fourth case where your J is 0 and M is 0. The fourth possibility is your J is 0 and M is 0. This you are forming from two spin half particles where you have fixed that my J should be 0, M should be 0. Now M can only be 0 when this is plus half and this is minus half. And next time this is minus half, this is plus half, 0, 0. And we will see that this value will turn out to be 1 by root 2 with a positive sign, while this value will turn out to be minus 1 by root. This Clebsch-Gordon will turn out to be plus 1 by root 2, and this Clebsch-Gordon would turn out to be minus 1 by root 2, such that you will write it as 1 by root 2, particle in state 1 is in spin up state, particle in state 2 is in spin down state, minus sign particle in state 1 in a spin down state and particle in state 2 in a spin up state. And notice this negative sign is coming because of the Clebsch-Gordon coefficient, and there is no other reason. And here if I interchange the two particles or the two states which you can call, then what you realize that if I interchange these two states, then I will pick up a negative sign. And that is why I call this state as anti-symmetric state. If I interchange the two states, I will pick up a negative sign, and therefore this state I will call as anti-symmetric state. Therefore, what we realize that S is equal to 1, Sz is equal to plus 1, 0 or minus 1. These three are symmetric states. While S is equal to 0 and Sz is equal to 0, this state is anti-symmetric state. That means if anybody asks me that what happens when you combine two spin half particles, then I can tell them that the overall symmetry would be given by a factor minus 1 to the power s plus 1, where if s is 1, this will become minus 1 whole square, that is plus 1. That will be a symmetric state, while when s is equal to 0, this will become an anti-symmetric state. Therefore, you will have a symmetric state and you will have an anti-symmetric state. Okay? That means from a spin part, you are getting an overall symmetry that is described by minus 1 to the power s plus 1. Minus 1 to the power s plus 1. This will be the overall symmetry which will describe the two spin half particles which either combine to give you s equal to 1 or s equal to 0. Now, is there any question? Yes or
सर
no?
यस सर सर यहाँ पर सर जे जे इक्वल्स टू J1 प्लस J2 होना चाहिए सर, हाफ और हाफ ऐड करके 0 सर।
नहीं नहीं, J इक्वल टू J1 प्लस J2 नहीं हो सकता। कल मैंने बताया था कि जो when you add angular momentum, then you have to add from J1 minus J2 to J1 plus J2, or L1 minus L2 to L1 plus L2, or I1 minus I2 to I1 plus I2, or S1 minus S2 to S1 plus S2. When you add two angular momentum, you have to go from J1 minus J2 to J1 plus J2. You have to look at all the possible values. Then the important point is that the projections are algebraically added. Projection means one has got a projection M1, another has got a projection M2. This M2 can have a positive or a negative sign. This M1 can have a positive or negative sign. But here you have to algebraically just add, like in Thevenin's theorem or superposition theorem, where you keeping the sign, you algebraically add the two quantities. Here also, you algebraically add the two projections of angular momentum. While angular momentum itself, they will get added up by taking the quantity from J1 minus J2 to J1 plus J2. Is it clear?
ओके सर।
Now, just to convince you, I am taking an example from particle physics. See, when I am talking about pi plus p scattering, and pi minus p scattering, just let me allow to write a few reactions. Okay. Now, yesterday, what I have told you, that if you have a triplet of particles, you assign isotopic spin 1. If you have doublet of particles, you assign isotopic spin half. If you have singlet, then you assign isotopic spin 0. Quartet, you assign isotopic spin 3 by 2. Now you see, I'm not talking about any sign when I am talking about isotopic spin, half, 1, 3 by 2, 5 by 2, and so on. But when I will talk about the projection of isospin, then yesterday I pointed out that the highest charge will get the maximum projection. Now tell me, what should I write for isospin here? For pi plus? Anybody?
1.
1.
1/2.
For proton, 1 by 2. Here, 1. This is 1 by 2. What about I3 for pi plus?
+1.
Plus 1. For proton,
+half.
plus half. Why you are saying that it should be plus half? Because we have placed proton, neutron in a doublet, which we call by this doublet by a common name nucleon. And then the highest charge, we are assigning the maximum projection plus half, and the lowest charge as the maximum projection as minus half. That is why you are saying this is plus half, and then this is plus half. Is it not? Now you see how we are going to add these two. What are the possible values on the top for I? Anybody? See, this is isotopic spin. Its addition will take place in analogy with what you do in angular momentum, and therefore this will go from 1 minus half to 1 plus half. Similarly here, 1 minus half to 1 plus half. That means what are the possible values when you are adding these two angular momenta? The possible values are half and 3 by 2. Possible values are half and 3 by 2. You have also on the right hand side a value of half and 3 by 2. Therefore, you will say that, okay, if I am adding these two quantities, I am getting a value of half or 3 by 2. Here I am getting a value of half or 3 by 2. But when I am adding the projections, it will have a unique value because projections are algebraically added. And then this will be, that means plus 3 by 2. This will be plus 3 by 2. And then we will say that angular momentum or isotopic spin is conserved, and the third component of the isotopic spin is also conserved. Isotopic spin is conserved and the third component of isotopic spin is conserved. Then this is an example of
Strong interaction.
a strong interaction. Now similarly, if I take I3 here, what is I for pi minus? Recall,
1.
plus pi 0, pi minus, they are members of isotriplet, and for all of them I will assign isotopic spin 1.
1 by 2.
Okay, what about I3?
Minus 1.
Minus 1 plus half, minus 1 plus half. Therefore, what are the possible values for 1 and half to combine? Again, following this analogy, the combination will give us half or 3 by 2. Here also half or 3 by 2. While here, when I will combine the projections, what I will get from this guy?
minus half,
Minus half. The same here. Then here, what you will say that what type of interaction this is? Again, a strong interaction. Now, similarly, if I write this 1 half, 1 half. Now, what about projection? Minus 1 plus half, 0 minus half. Because pi 0 has isospin projection 0 and a neutron isospin projection minus half. Therefore, this is giving us minus half. This is also, when we are algebraically adding them up, this is giving us minus half. Therefore, again, what is this example of?
strong interaction,
A strong interaction. Now let us talk about this example. I3. What should I write here? 1 by 2, 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 and here here
1 by 2.
1 by 2, because
Yes, anti-particle.
antinucleon also forms a doublet where the highest charge sits at the top. Okay, and therefore I3 is plus half for antineutron, and minus half for antiproton. Therefore, I3 is plus half, plus half, plus half, plus half, plus half, and this will be minus half. Is it not? Are you convinced? Vandana?
Yes, sir.
Now you see, what will be the total isotopic spin on the left hand side?
1 0.
1 0, good.
0 or 1.
0 or 1, very good. What about the right hand side? Now you see, that is the catch. First we will combine these two. When I will combine these two, what I am going to get? 0 or 1. Okay. Then I will take the third state. That means I will combine 0 with half. This will give us half, because 0 minus half to 0 plus half magnitude will give us half. Same number. But 1.5 can give me half as well as 3 by 2. Therefore, here the possibilities are, when I am combining these two, what are the possibilities? I am getting either half or 3 by 2 when I have combined these three. Now I have got a fourth one. What is that fourth one? The isotopic spin half. Now you see, the combination can be half minus half to half plus half, or 3 by 2 minus half to 3 by 2 plus half. Now tell me the result. What will be the possible values for the total isotopic spin for 4 particles in the final state?
0, 1, 1 by 2, 3 by 2, 5.
Why 5 by 2? From where 5 by 2 is coming? See, when I was combining these first two particles, we were getting 0, 1. Then I combined the third particle, I was getting 1 by 2, 3 by 2. Then I was combining the fourth particle. This was giving us 0, 1, and 3 by 2 minus 1 by 2 to 3 by 2 to plus 1 by 2. 3 by 2 to minus 1 by 2 to 3 by 2 plus 1 by 2. 3 by 2 minus 1 by 2 will give me 1, and 3 by 2 to plus 1 by 2 will give me 2. Therefore, the values from here will be 1 and 2. 1 we have already included, therefore you have 2. Therefore, here we have possible values are 0, 1 or 2. Now what you are realizing, that you have 0 here, 0 here, or you have a 1 here and 1 here. You will say that if any one of the number is on the left hand side or on the right hand side, then the quantum number is conserved, and therefore In this example, I is conserved. What about I3? I3 we add algebraically, therefore plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 will give us plus 1. Plus 1 by 2 plus 1 by 2 will give us plus 1. Plus 1 with combination of plus half will give me plus 3 by 2. And plus 3 by 2 with minus 1 by 2 will give me
+1.
plus 1. Therefore, this is an example of
Strong interaction.
strong interaction. Because I is conserved as well as I3 is also conserved. है ना? हो सकता है within a few seconds we will have to reconnect. Now let us talk about this guy. I3 in this example. What is the lambda 0?
Baryon.
Single.
Baryon, but what type of isotopic spin quantum number it has?
0.
0. Why? It is isosinglet. If it is 0, this will be 0. While on the right hand side, this is half, this is 1. This is plus half, this is minus 1. Now you notice that the right hand side will give me either 3 by 2 or half, 1 minus half to 1 plus half, and this will give us minus half. We have 0 on the left hand side, half or 3 by 2 on the right hand side, 0 on the left hand side, and minus 1 by 2 on the right hand side. That means neither I nor I3 is conserved, and that means this is where neither I nor I3 is conserved.
Weak interaction.
Weak interaction. Okay, that was an example of weak interaction. Okay, now then I wrote pi 0 decaying into 2 photons. Now when you have a photon in any interaction, photon is the quanta of electromagnetic interaction. Directly you can say that this will be an electromagnetic interaction. But with this conservation law, pi 0 is a member of triplet whose projection is 0, and for all the other hadrons we assign isotopic spin quanta number 0, all the mediating quanta. Okay, therefore I is not conserved while I3 is conserved. This is an example of electromagnetic interaction where I is not conserved and I3 is conserved. Similarly, if I talk about electron-proton scattering, now remember one thing, electrons don't participate in a strong interaction. Electrons don't participate in a strong interaction. They participate in electromagnetic interaction and weak interaction. Therefore, first of all, if you see any lepton, then that will for sure cannot be a strong interaction process. Now, how much isospin we assign to electron?
0.
Why?
Because we cannot assign isospin to leptons.
To leptons. We cannot assign isospin to leptons, and that is why we will assign 0. Then half plus half, half plus half. What you realize that here in this case I is conserved as well as I3 is conserved. Okay, but since electrons don't participate in a strong interaction, this is an example of electromagnetic interaction, as well as this interaction can take place via weak interaction process. This interaction may take place via weak interaction. In electromagnetic interaction, the mediating quanta will be a photon. In weak interaction, in this case, the mediating quanta will be a Z0 boson. Therefore, how do we think of such type of scattering? That an electron has emitted a photon and that has got absorbed by a proton, and proton has moved in some other direction. Similarly, an electron has emitted a Z0 and Z0 has moved in, has got absorbed by proton, and proton has moved in some other direction. Therefore, here you have to be careful that what you are realizing that I and I3 both are conserved. But this cannot be a strong interaction process. While this process can take place via electromagnetic interaction as well as via weak interaction. But electromagnetic interaction cross section is much higher than weak interaction cross section. Electromagnetic interaction cross section is of the order of 10 power minus 30 centimeter square, and weak interaction cross section is 10 power minus 40 centimeter square. Therefore, when we talk about electromagnetic interaction, we don't talk about weak interaction. But from net point of view, this is an important question, that if I am talking about electron-proton scattering, then this process can take place via electromagnetic interaction as well as via weak interaction. It is different thing that weak interaction will be much suppressed than electromagnetic interaction, but both of them will be present. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, in the addition of angular momenta, you talk about the addition of different quantities. Okay, we have talked about two spin half particles. Now, instead of that, if I talk about proton, which has got isotopic spin half, whose projection is plus half, and isotopic spin half, whose projection is minus half. That means I am giving you two isotopic spin particles. I am giving you two isotopic spin particles, which, to start with, I am just telling you that both of the two particles have got isotopic spin half. Now, what you will conclude from there, if I am making a statement that I am going to give you two particles, both of the particles are isotopic spin half particles, they are nucleons and they are isotopic spin half particles, then what will be your conclusion? Anybody? Both can be protons, both can be neutrons, one can be proton and one can be neutron. Now, if you have got two isospin half objects, then here also the combination will give you 1 plus 1, 1 0, 1 minus 1 and 0 0. Now today you have to tell me what, like spin, if we develop the algebra, what should I write here? you will say that I have been given two isotopic spin half particles. Since I need projection to be +1, that can only come from 1, and +1 can only be obtained from when both of the projections are +12. Then I have proton in a state 1 as well as I have got proton in a state 2. While here you have proton in a state 1, neutron in a state 2, or neutron in a state 1, proton in a state 2. Here you have got neutron in a state 1 and neutron in a state 2, while here this is an antisymmetric state. Proton in a state 1, neutron in a state 2, or neutron in a state 1 and proton in a state 2. Is it clear? Now similarly, if I talk about U and D quarks, then we know that U and D are placed in a doublet where U has got +2 by third charge of in units of electronic charge. We assign it the highest isotopic spin projection, and this has got the lowest isotopic spin projection. Now with the two isotopic spin quarks, if I want to form a state 1 + 1, then what can be that state?
UU quark.
Why U bar? I have been given U and D quarks only, no anti-quarks. Collection of U and D quarks, and I have been asked to form a 1 + 1 state. Then I will have U in state 1 as well as U in state 2. Or here U in state 1, D in state 2, or D in state 1 and U in state 2. Okay? And similarly you can write here. Now my question is, I am giving you two particles, both of them are nucleons, and I want that both of them should have total isotopic spin projection should be +1, and also total spin projection should be +1. I am giving you two nucleons, and both the nucleons are such that I need total isotopic spin +1, and I need total spin projection also +1. Then how should I write here? That means I am talking about proton in state 1, proton in state 2, and since I wish that my spin projection should be +1, this is only possible when both of the spins in the two states are in the upward direction. Both of the spins in the two states are in the upward direction. Okay? Or if I wish that 1 - 1 is the isospin and third component of isospin, and spin also I want that S should be 1 and SZ should be -1, then you will say that this is only possible if the two particles are the two neutrons and both the neutrons in the spin down state. Now, Pauli's exclusion principle tells us that no two states can have, for identical particles, for two protons, for two neutrons, for two identical fermions it talks about. Two protons, है ना, हम लोगों ने जो 11th क्लास में पॉलीज एक्सक्लूजन प्रिंसिपल पढ़ा है वो फॉर नो टू इलेक्ट्रॉन्स पढ़ा है, वो गलत पढ़ा है. For no two identical fermions, all the quantum numbers can be the same. For no two identical fermions means no two electrons, no two positrons, no two protons, no two neutrons, no two muons, all the quantum numbers can be the same. Therefore, what you realize that by making these two states identical with the spin projections in the upward direction, Pauli exclusion principle won't allow such system to exist. Okay? Then I come to a system where I can have one spin up, another spin down. Similarly for N1 and N2. Then I talk about a system where proton is in state 1 and neutron is in state 2. And proton this is again often asked in interviews and in competitive examinations. Now tell me, which of these systems you have seen in nature? Anybody? Why I am telling you that such type of questions are asked in the interviews. See, I am talking about two states where I am placing two nucleons and I had been given many protons and neutrons. When I placed two protons in state 1 and 2, both had a spin up. I told you that this is not possible because Pauli's exclusion principle will not allow it. No two identical fermions can have all the quantum numbers same. It's fine. Then what about a two nucleon system where one has a spin up, another has a spin down, such that the system has a spin 0. Here also the system has a spin 0. While here I am changing the particle, thus I am obeying Pauli's exclusion principle, and then I am talking about proton having a spin up, neutron is spin down, proton is spin, proton is spin down, neutron is spin up, that the system has Sz 0, while here the system has Sz plus 1. Now, have you seen a nucleus where there are two protons or not? Do you know about any nucleus where there are only two protons? Or do you know any nucleus where there are only two neutrons? We know about hydrogen nucleus where there is only one proton. Then we know about deuterium nucleus where we have a proton and a neutron. But why not we have a nucleus where there are only 2 protons? Or why not we have a nucleus where there are only 2 neutrons? The answer to that, I will tell you just in a minute. This I am telling you that this system does not exist. 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 While you have a proton neutron spin 1 system, which we call by the name deuteron, a deuterium nucleus, or you call it by the name deuterium nucleus. You take out electron from deuterium atom, you are left with deuterium nucleus. You have deuterium nucleus. People talk a lot about it. Experimentally, it has been observed. Many experiments have been done with deuterium nucleus. But you don't have a proton-neutron system with S equal to 0. Or you don't have 2 proton system with S equal to 0. While Pauli exclusion principle allows this. It allows this. It allows this. It allows this. But why not we have such type of systems?
Sir, can we say the reason is strong interaction?
No. You have been taught this in BSc.
Because
That
there is
you-
continuous exchange of pi mesons between proton and neutron.
No. There's nothing like that. You have been taught in the class, but I think the teacher has not emphasized it, or you have not noticed it, that nuclear forces are spin dependent. Have you been told this? You know that nuclear force is the strongest force. It has got a range of Fermi. It is attractive in general and repulsive for a very short range. Then yesterday or day before that, I told you that nuclear forces are charge independent. Same between 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and between a proton and neutron. That is why I introduced isotopic spin quantum number. Is it not? Then there is a very important point, and that is taught in the class, that nuclear forces are spin dependent. Nuclear forces are spin dependent. What is the experimental proof of that? The most important proof comes from this example, that you have a deuteron system, which is a spin 1 system, where you have a proton and neutron sitting inside the nucleus. While the elementary quantum numbers tells you that you can have a proton neutron system where a spin of the system can be 0, or you can have 2 protons, which is by the name is known as diproton or dineutron. The question is, diproton system, dineutron system, they don't exist. Why they don't exist? First reason is that like S equal to 1, we cannot have a possibility like here, because we will violate Pauli's exclusion principle. But there is another option, that one has a spin up and another has a spin down. But that is still, that does not exist in nature. And then proton neutron bound state in a spin 1 state exists, while a spin 0 state does not exist. The answer to that is that when we talk about spin interaction between the 2 nucleons, for the 2 protons or 2 neutrons, or a proton and a neutron, for the 2 protons, for the 2 neutrons, or a proton and neutron, to give rise to a spin 0 state is a very, very weak state, bound state, is very, very weak bound state, and such states do not exist. And that is why we say that nuclear forces are spin dependent, because proton-neutron system with a spin 1 exists, but proton-neutron system with a spin 0 does not exist. 2 protons with a spin 0 state does not exist. 2 neutrons with a spin 0 state does not exist. And that is why we say that nuclear forces are spin dependent. There are other experimental reasons to support the spin dependent nature of nuclear forces, but this is the most basic argument from which you can conclude that really nuclear forces are spin dependent. Is it clear? Yes or no?
Sir,
Yes.
so theoretically, value of F in the deuterium nucleus, it should be 75% 1 and 25% should be 0.
No. What are you telling?
So when we analyze, when we perform this spin algebra on deuterium nucleus,
No. Who is talking? Please tell your name. Gopal.
Yes, sir.
Gopal, see, you are confused. See, what I was talking about when I discussed proton or neutron, ये मैंने इसी final में discuss किया, इसलिए इन्होंने ये सवाल पूछा. When we talk about proton-neutron system, spin of the deuteron system is 1. Okay? But the important point is that this proton and this neutron has also got orbital angular momentum. And this total orbital angular momentum can be either, if it is in pure ground state, that is S state, which corresponds to L equal to 0. Okay? S state which corresponds to L equal to 0. But when we say that deuteron has got a quadrupole moment, and quadrupole moment tells you that nucleus is not spherical, it is either prolate shaped or oblate shaped. Deviation from sphericity is nothing but the measurement of the quadrupole moment of a nucleus. Okay. Now, deviation from sphericity means that there exists, besides S state, which has got L equal to 0, additional angular momentum state, because any change in sphericity you can always bring with the help of rotation, and rotation is associated with torque, and like you have force defined as the change of linear momentum with respect to time, torque you define as the change of angular momentum with respect to time. And when you are talking about a change in angular momentum, then that means that angular momentum of the system is not fixed, it is changing. Now, since you are neutron proton, they are interacting through a strong interaction, and in a strong interaction, this angular momentum or parity is a conserved quantum number. Therefore, what you say that L equal to 1 state is not allowed, but for L equal to a 1 state, parity will be odd, while L equal to 0 state, parity will be even. That is why you add a few percent of L equal to 2 state, which you call it as D state. So therefore 96% of the time proton neutron sits in the S state, while you need only 4% of the admixture from D state. Your total spin is still 1, and this L equal to 0 is giving you J equal to 1. But to explain quadrupole moment in deuteron, which has got a very small value, but nevertheless that value is non-zero, you add a higher orbital angular momentum state. L equal to 1 is not possible because of parity conservation. That is why you add L equal to 2. But just an admixture of L equal to 2 for 4%, you get the net result of the quadrupole moment. That is why you have this picture, while spin is 1 for a deuteron.
Okay, sir.
Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So therefore, this quadrupole moment arises because of the change in angular momentum. And the change in angular momentum can only be brought by a torque. And torque is associated with rotation. And rotation means deviation from this sphericity, either correlate or obletion. Okay. Therefore, spin is one for that has been experimentally observed for a deuterium nucleus. That deuterium spin is 1. Any other question? Now you see, we have talked about isotopic spin half particles. We have talked about a spin half particles. Then similarly, what I have told you, that I can combine a spin angular momentum j equal to half particle and j equal to 1 particle, or isotopic spin plus half with isotopic spin plus 1 particle. Now you will ask me the question, what is the example of isotopic spin plus half combining with another isotopic spin plus 1 particle? You know, you have got a delta plus plus. Yesterday I have told you that delta plus plus is a quartet of state, because you have delta plus, delta 0 and delta minus. And since this has got a highest charge, this should be plus 3 by 2. While this has got a lowest charge, this should be minus 3 by 2. Now, this is a 3 quark system, whether it is a delta plus plus or delta minus or delta 0. Now, if I wish to get an isotopic 3 half system whose projection is plus 3 by 2, which is made up of 3 quarks only, then this is only possible when you have U in state 1, U in state 2, as well as U in state 3. Why? Because plus half projection and the third plus half projection can only give you a net projection of plus 3 by 2, or minus half projection for D can give you I3 is equal to minus 3 by 2. Then we write that 1, if I wish to get a 3 by 2 plus 3 by 2 state, 1 plus 1, half plus half is giving me 3 by 2 plus 3 by 2. This I am getting from 1 plus 1. This is half plus half. This is again the maximum projection. This will be equal to 1, j equal to plus j 1 plus j2, and this is plus j1 plus j2. This is 1. This is a u in state 1, u in state 2, and then you are adding a third particle, u in state 3. But you can have an addition of angular momentum something like this. you see what I have written. I have given you 9 examples. One which has got a projection +1, half which has got a projection -half. Since projections are algebraically added, I can get +half. But this +half I can get from 3/2, as well as this +half I can get from J1 minus J2 as half, whose projection is +half. Similarly here, one has got a projection 0, half has got a projection +half. This 3 can be 3/2, whose projection is +half, but this also at the same time can be 1/2, whose projection can be +half. And similarly, you can look at the others and you can see that we can have the different possible combinations of the system. And the Clebsch-Gordon for all of them have got different values. Number 1, they can be √3/2, they can be 1/√3, -1/√3, -√3/2, 1/√2, -1/√2, but they will be real numbers. And moreover, you can notice that this is J1, this has got maximum projection plus J1, this is J2, but when you are adding them up, this is not simply J plus J1 plus J2. Therefore, this is not the highest projection. And since this is not the highest projection, therefore, the important point is this value will not be equal to 1. Similarly, this is not the highest projection. Therefore, this value will not be equal to 1. Similarly, this will be true for this. Therefore, all these 9 matrices which I have written, 9 Clebsch-Gordon coefficients, they are non-zero, number 1, and they are also not equal to 1. And we can evaluate them using the principle of addition of angular momentum. Okay, therefore tomorrow and day after tomorrow I will develop the formalism to add the 2 angular momentum states, and then from there how one can evaluate the Clebsch-Gordon coefficients to get the angular momentum, net angular momentum states for the different particles. Okay, let us stop here, think about it, and we shall discuss them tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much.